Hello children, let me welcome you to the virtual class of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. My name is Shraddha teacher. Children, we are in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic, and because of that we are not able to go to school, but that doesn't mean we are going to stop learning. So we are going to do many lessons which are very interesting from your textbook through the virtual class here. So let us do a lesson in English today. So children, let us start with a lesson in standard 10th English. Okay, and today's lesson is lesson number 4.2 from your English textbooks, and the name of the lesson is The Luncheon. Now, what is the exact meaning of luncheon? We'll see, of course. But when you look at the images on this screen, you can see images of various food items, isn't it? That means this lesson has got something to do with food. It has got something to do with meals that we have. So let us start and see what the meaning of luncheon is. So a luncheon is a midday meal. So you can also say that it is lunch. Okay. When do you have a lunch? You have it in the midday, that is during the afternoon. So a luncheon is kind of a lunch only. It is something which you have during the afternoons. All right, it is a midday meal. So what do we Indians have for lunch or for luncheon? We usually have a heavy lunch, isn't it? We have rice, we have rotis, we have dal, we have curd, various kind of chutneys, salads, etc. Now, the luncheon that we are talking about here in this particular story is not an Indian luncheon. Okay, so here you will see people having different kind of dishes, like they have fish, they have caviar, which is a kind of fish egg, etc. Now, before we go and talk about what a luncheon is and what the story is about, now, children, if you open your book and you come to page number 150, you will see that we have this lesson on that particular page. So in this, you will see that there is a kind of a, you can say, so two people are meeting for lunch. One person is the writer and the other person is supposedly a big fan of his writing. But this story is a kind of a irony. Irony means the person is praising the writer only because she wants to have a heavy lunch. She doesn't have anything else to do with it. All right, but the writer, poor thing, he doesn't have too much money and he has to make a lot of adjustment to pay the bills, but he pays the bills thinking that I am providing this lunch or I'm offering this lunch to a person who's a very big fan of mine. So that is why this story is a kind of a satire, you can say, or it is a kind of a humorous lesson or a humorous story. Now, before we go and see the story, let us look at a certain parts in the warming up exercise. Okay, so here there is a little bit a talk about money and about bills, etc. So as you know, every country has its own currency. So in India, we have the rupee or the rupiah as we call it. Okay, and in other countries, like for example in the United States, you have the dollar, and in the UK you have the pound. All right, so now let us see what are the different kind of currencies. Now they are given you this particular exercise on page number 150. So whenever you go to a hotel or whenever you go and use any place, like you go and watch a movie, you have to pay, isn't it? You have to pay for the bill, you have to pay for the tickets. So if you are in your own country, then you know that you have to pay in rupees. But what if you are in another country and you need to pay in that particular currency? So first thing is, let us try and see the currencies of certain countries, and let us see what the exchange rate in Indian currency is. Okay, so this is a very interesting exercise from your warming up part, and that is why I've picked it up here. So we will look at the name of the country, we will see what the currency there is, and we will also talk about exchange rate in Indian currency. Now see, here you have 1 rupee in your hand. If you go to a country like say the US, this 1 rupee does not have any value. Okay, because if for $1 you have to pull out at least 75 rupees from your pocket. So this is called as the exchange rate, how strong our money is as compared to the money of other countries. So come on, let us see. In a country like Switzerland, see what is the currency. They've given you an example. Switzerland, the currency is franc, and 1 franc is 66.73 INR. INR means the Indian currency or the Indian rupee. That means 1 franc, if they give you, if you want 1 franc from them, you will have to give them 66.73 rupees to get 1 franc. Okay, so this is the exchange rate for Switzerland. Let us look at some other countries now here. So you have, let us go back to this page. So the first country which I have picked up at random, okay, these are just country names at random. So you have this country Bahrain, which is in the Middle East. What is the currency of Bahrain? It is dinar. And what is the exchange rate? See, 1 dinar is 168.70 INR. Now children, this currency rate is according to the rates which were there last week when I prepared this PPT. Okay, now these rates keep on changing. Alright, so we are just doing this as an example. No one is going to go to Bahrain now with a lot of money and spend it. So this is just an example. You get an idea of the exchange rate. So what is the currency for Bahrain? It is dinar. Let us move on and look at the currency for Singapore. So the currency here in Singapore is a dollar. And look at the exchange rate. So $1 is 48.63 INR. So if you want $1, if you plan to go to Singapore, if you go to Singapore, if you land there, you cannot spend your Indian money there. Then you will have to pay in dollars. So what will you do? You will take some money from here and you will get it exchanged. Okay. So if you want $1, you will have to exchange 48.63 rupees to get $1. Alright. Let's see the next one. The next country is Dubai. And there it is the dirham. The currency is called as the dirham. Okay. And 1 dirham is 17.31 INR. So when you go to Bahrain, you will feel a little less, that you feel that the money which I have is not enough for me. But when you go to Dubai, you will be in a better position. Alright, because you just need to give 17 rupees to get 1 dirham. Moving on, when you go to Japan, the currency there is the yen. Like we have the rupee, the dirham, the dollar. You have the yen in Japan. And 1 yen is 0.58 INR. Okay. Moving on, let's see the next country, Oman. So the currency is the Omani Rial. And 1 Omani Rial is 165.12 INR. So you can see how the exchange rate for the Indian rupee changes. What about if you go to England? There it is the pound. Alright, and 1 pound is 89.91 INR. So this is an exercise where we are talking about having lunch in a restaurant, we're talking about paying bills, and you're talking about a story which is set in a foreign land. That is why we just saw how our money stands against all these other currencies. Okay, so this was the exercise from the warming up part on page number 150 of your textbook. Now let us come to the lesson, but before we talk about the story, we will look at the person who's written the story. So his name is William Somerset Maugham. So this gentleman on the screen is William Somerset Maugham. So he was a very distinguished British playwright, novelist and short story writer. Alright, let us seek some more information about him. So he was born on the 25th of January 1874 and he passed away on the 16th of December 1965. Alright, so he lived to a ripe old age of almost 90 years. Okay, then you will see that he was the most popular writers of his era, and he was also the highest paid author during the 1930s. So he was a very popular writer who people used to love reading his work, and that is why maybe his books got sold and he made a lot of money also. He trained and qualified as a physician. Now, who's a physician? You can say a physician is, you can say he's a doctor or someone who can administer medicines. Okay, like we have the general physician. In that way, he has trained and qualified as a physician. And since he was a physician during the First World War, he also served with the Red Cross Society of Red Cross. That is, they used to help people do a lot of social service. So this is some interesting piece of information about William Somerset Maugham. There is other information about him available on page number 51 in your textbook, so you can go through that also. Now, this particular lesson, the luncheon, is about Maugham himself and how he went on a date. That is, a date means when you go to meet someone else. Okay, and he was not a very famous writer at that time. He was a struggling writer, and he thought he will meet someone, and that person expressed herself in such a manner that Maugham thought that she is a very big supporter of him. But that was not the case. The lady just wanted to have a free meal. So that is what the story is about. Now, children, the story runs into almost 6 or 7 pages. So we will not be able to read the entire story over here, and I will not be able to read it line by line. Like, our format is not like that. So what we will do is I will just try and show you the summary of the story, and we will see the main points in the story, and then you can read the story from the textbook, so you will understand what the lesson is about. So, in brief, what is the story about? The story is an example of irony. Irony, why? Because the lady whom the writer takes out for luncheon, thinking that she is an admirer, she is a supporter, but that lady only exploits the narrator by pretending that she is interested in his work and she admires his work, whereas she did not have any kind of feelings or any kind of support for the writer. The irony is that the narrator takes her to an expensive restaurant where he'd never dared to go himself and he could not afford it also. So see, if it is a very close relative or it is a very close friend of yours, then there is no harm in taking that person to an expensive restaurant. But this narrator, he was a little short of cash. That is, he was not very rich at that particular point of time. So there were certain places where he himself never dared to go, thinking that, it will be very expensive for me. How will I pay the bill? But he took this lady who was just faking to be his supporter. And the lady also, she understood his financial situation, but she took him for a ride. Taking someone for a ride means cheating someone, you can say. Okay, or taking advantage of someone. So this is the story of the luncheon in brief. Now let us look at, say, certain parts of the story, or let us break up the story and try to find out how the story is set and who are the main characters and what is the main plot of the story. So whenever there is a story, children, the story has got certain features. So there is a setting to the story, there are some characters in the story, there is a plot. Plot is the main idea around which the story revolves. There is the climax. Climax means what happens towards the end in the story. And there are various themes also in the story. So let us see what the setting of this particular story was. So this story is set in Paris. Okay. Now Paris is in France. Alright. And so that is why we talked about the currency, isn't it? And what is the currency of France? It is francs. Who are the main characters in the story? The narrator, that is the author, who was a poor writer at that time. And there is a woman also who is a 40-year-old fan. Now this story is in flashback. That is, he meets this woman a long time after the luncheon is over, and the woman reminds him, and that is how all these things come back to the writer's mind. What is the plot, or what is the main idea of the story? So there is one story within a story. The first 3 paragraphs and the last paragraph constitutes one story. Okay. In the climax, the writer takes some kind of revenge on the lady, so that when you read the lesson from the textbook, you will come to know. Okay. What are the various themes here? The first theme is appearance versus reality. That is, you feel something but you try to show something else. So that is appearance versus reality. The lady was not at all a fan of the writer, but she put up a show just because she wanted a free meal. Manipulation is there, taking someone for a ride, I told you, manipulation, manipulating someone, and also revenge. Now, the revenge thing, I think you should read the story and enjoy this part. Okay, how the author or how the writer took revenge on the lady in the end. So these are the features of the short story. We'll take one more look at the, you can say, the theme or the idea in the story. So let me read. You can pause the video and read along with me. The speaker in the luncheon wishes from the beginning that his date would be a beautiful woman. So you say, na, appearance versus reality. This is one of the themes. He wants his date to be a beautiful woman. He imagines a portrayal of a graceful lady in his mind. But when he goes to have lunch, she appears as a surprising blast. That is, she's totally opposite to what he had imagined that she would be. Not only her appearance, but also her dialogues express that she is an extremely fat, food-loving, and ravenous. Ravenous means someone who's very greedy woman who does not even think a bit about the cost the speaker would have to pay for the lunch. So she keeps on ordering one dish after another. Like, for example, when you read the lesson, you will see that it was a season where there is no fish available. But in spite of that, she orders for salmon. And she wants to have salmon. She wants to have the most expensive dishes on the menu. Like when someone is giving you a lunch or someone is taking you out for dinner, we never demand that, no, I want this and I want that. We leave it to the grace of the person who's giving us a lunch or dinner to order for us. But this lady, she had a very good appetite also, and she gobbled up a lot of food. Directly, she gobbled up food, but indirectly, she gobbled up all the money which the author had. Okay, so she doesn't talk much, she eats too much. And she has put up a show that she is a very, very big fan of the author. So this is about the center, or this is about the theme of the story. So it is an irony. Okay, so it is a little bit a kind of a humorous story. So children, this was about the story. Now I would want you to read the lesson properly. Now since you know what the who the main characters are, you know what the central theme is, and you know what the story line is, and you know how it is based on, what is the background. Once you read the story now from the textbook, you will be able to understand it well. Now, like we always do, once we have finished discussing about the story, we go to the exercises which are there in the English workshop part. So we have already done one exercise from the warming up part. So now come on, let's proceed to the exercises in the English workshop part. So this is the first exercise in the English workshop part, where you are supposed to choose the correct option from the bracket and fill the blanks given below. So in the bracket, you have certain words, certain options. You have addressed, luncheon, generously, unwise, insist. And you have certain sentences where there are blanks and you have to fill them. Okay, so let's check out what the sentences are. So the chief guest dash the students. The crow was dash to sing. I invited my relatives to dash. Parents always dash on children to be all-rounders. The king decided to donate his wealth dash among his subjects. So come on, let us pause for a second here and try to find out the answers before I show it to you. So let's look at the first one now. The chief guest dashed the students. The chief guest addressed the students. The crow was unwise to sing. The crow should not have sang. I invited my relatives to a luncheon. Parents always dash on children to be all-rounders. They always insist on children to be all-rounders. The king decided to donate his wealth generously among his subjects. Okay, so this is the first exercise. Let's move on and let us look at the next one. So pick out the words and phrases in the story that indicate that the author was not financially well off. So one is done for you. So there are certain exercises which I have left out deliberately, children. For example, the third one, who said these words or sentences? These are very simple exercises. You can pick it up from the textbook. You read the textbook once or twice, you will be able to figure out these answers. Question number 4 is answer in your own words. So you will have to answer in your own words. After reading the lesson, you will have to comprehend the meaning of the words and sentences, and you will have to write the answers on your own. So we have directly come now to exercise 5 here. Okay. So pick out the words and phrases in the story that indicate that the author was not very rich. All right. He was just struggling to make his ends meet. So one of them is already given here. See, the word is afford and phrases beyond my means. So let us look at some more words and phrases which show that the author did not have a lot of money. So cheapest is one word. Manage well enough is a phrase. Expensive is another word. A great deal higher is a phrase. Borrow is one word. And enough to pay the bill is the phrase. So you have to now, I'll give you a small assignment. You will have to go and find out where these words are used in the lesson or where these phrases are used in the story, and then you will come to know how the sentence says that the author was not financially well off. All right. So now, come on, let's move on to the next exercise. Again, you have to fill in the blank a word or phrase given in the bracket in their appropriate forms. So here you have the base word or you have a phrase. You have to make appropriate changes to the word or to the phrase and then fill in the blank. So one is startle, catch sight of, overload, water, and pass. So now let's look at the sentences. Okay. So I never dash my stomach, she said. I never overload my stomach. Now here there is no change made to the word. Okay, I never overload my stomach means I do not eat too much. I was dash when the menu was bought. I was startled. See, the word was startle, but here we have made it startled when the menu was brought. The author dashed the guest at the play. The author caught sight of the guest at the play. So catch sight of has been made into caught sight of. I had seen asparagus in the shops. My mouth often dash at the sight of them. So here we'll use the word water, but you will change it and you will make it waters at the sight of them. So asparagus is a kind of a vegetable which people use in their cooking. The author's guest was dash through Paris. The author's guest was passing through Paris. So see how we have changed the form of the words or phrases in order to fit into the sentence. So this was exercise 8 from your textbook. Moving on, we use articles when we write sentences or when we say sentences. Articles are of two types. So you have a definite article and you have an indefinite article. Okay. So let us see what are the articles that we will use here. So what are definite articles? The is a definite article. A and an are indefinite articles. So I have just dash had snack. I have dash cup of coffee in the morning. I want just dash ice cream and coffee. Dash author and his guest gave dash order and then waited for dash asparagus to be cooked. So let us see which articles should we use here in order to make our sentence complete and correct. I have just had a snack. Okay, the words have become interchanged. Actually, it's I have just had a snack. Okay, the A will come after the had. I have a cup of coffee in the morning. So here you don't use an cup of coffee, you use a cup of coffee. I want just dash ice cream and coffee. I want just an ice cream and coffee. Dash author and his guest. So the author and his guest. Here it is a definite article. The author, that particular author, not any author. Okay? Gave the order and then waited for the asparagus to be cooked. So see, we have made use of the definite article the in some places and the indefinite articles a and an in certain other places. So this is exercise number 9 from your textbook. We now come to another, you can say exercise based on vocabulary, where we will be classifying certain words and we will be putting them into tables as necessary. I will not be doing all the words for you children. I will start with certain words and leave it halfway so that you can finish the remaining. Now see, these words, there are a lot of words given in the bracket. You have modest, you have luncheon, generously, rank, restaurant, appearance, large, expensive watch, etc., etc. And there are 4 columns given to you in the table: noun, verb, adjective, and adverb. So you have to decide whether a particular verb is a noun or it is an adverb or an adjective, and you have to put it into that particular box or that particular column in the table. So let us look at the first word, modest. So what is modest? Modest is a quality in a person. So it is an adjective. You say he's a modest person. See, he's not very proud. He is modest. The next word, luncheon. What is it? What do you think? Now these are all parts of speech, isn't it? Noun, verb, adjective, adverb. All these are parts of speech. And we have been doing this since we were in the, I think, 4th and 5th standard. So what is a luncheon? Luncheon is a noun. What about generously? Generously is an adverb. He gave generously. So generously is describing the action of giving. How did he give? He gave generously. So generously is an adverb. What about a rank? Rank here is a verb. When you rank someone, that is when teachers give ranks in the class. So teachers are ranking someone. So that is a verb. Alright. Then you have restaurant, which is a noun because it is a place. What about appearance? That is also a noun. Large. Large is an adjective. Expensive is also an adjective. What about watch? Now I have put watch into 2 columns here. Watch means to watch someone, where it becomes a verb. Watch means a watch which you can gift to someone, so it becomes a noun. Then you have coffee, which is a noun. Okay. Brought, which is a verb. Afford, which is again a verb. Okay. So we have come up to afford. Now I will leave the remaining 6 words to you, where you can read the words. You can use the dictionary also to try and find out which category of words or which group of words they belong to, whether it is a noun, whether it is a verb. There are some words which can come out in both the columns. Okay, so check whether there is any word which can come in 2 columns. So that is one more assignment for you from this particular lesson. Now there is another assignment, or there is another exercise based on vocabulary. So let us look at that also. Study the different uses of could. Identify what it indicates. So now there are certain words which are used in various situations. One such word is could. It could have different meanings, or it can have different kind of, you can say, backgrounds to it. Why are you using could in this place? Here in one sentence could mean something, in another sentence could will mean something else. Okay, so there are different uses of could. So let us see what the different uses of could are, and let us try and analyze the use in a particular sentence. So we have 5 sentences here. The first one here, it is for you. Lack of rain could cause drought. So here it is lack of rain could. So here, does the could indicate possibility, or does it indicate condition? It indicates possibility. If there is a lack of rain, it is possible that there will be a drought. Next sentence. Abhi could perform well in his school days. So here there is a could here. Abhi could perform well in his school days. So school days are now past. Okay, we are talking about something which Abhi used to do when he was in school. So here it is not a suggestion, but it is a past ability. So you can see in one case could was a possibility, in the other case could is a past ability. Let us look at the next example. Instead of playing computer games, you could play real games with friends. So here there is a could. And is this could a past ability, or is it a suggestion? So you're telling someone, instead of really sitting behind in front of their computer screen and playing virtual games, why don't you really get up from your seat and go and play real games with your friends? So what are you doing? You're giving a suggestion. Okay. Next. Could I use your computer for net surfing? Here what are you doing? Very simple. Why are you using this could? You are requesting someone that I want to use your computer for surfing the net. Could I do it, please? So you're asking someone. Okay, you're making a request. We could go on an excursion if we didn't have an exam. So now here we could go on an excursion. But there is a problem here. What? That exams are there. So it is a condition. If we didn't have an exam, suppose the condition is such that we don't have this exam, then we could have gone on an excursion. So it is a condition. Okay. So see, these are 5 different situations where the same word could is used, but everywhere it has got a different meaning. Alright, it is used in different contexts. Now we come to the last exercise here in our textbook. So this is assignment or exercise number 12 in your English workshop part, where you're supposed to fill the gaps with appropriate prepositions in order to make the passage meaningful. So now again I will suggest that you pause the video, you halt the video here, read the sentences or paragraphs properly, and try to see which preposition will match in which place and how it will be correct also to use a particular preposition in a particular blank. So I will leave you to first try and figure out the answers yourself, and then you can check with the answers that I'm giving it to you now. I waited at the airport in Atlanta. Okay. My old schoolmate was going to arrive by New Airlines from Mumbai on 21st of March in the year 2018. So see how we have made use of different prepositions. We had not met for 40 years since 1978. So they're meeting in 2018. So they had last met in 1978. So it was 40 years ago that they had met. She was going to stay for a week with me in Atlanta from 21st to 27th of March 2018. So I hope your answers match with mine. This is a pretty easy exercise if you know how to use your prepositions correctly. My joy knew no bounds when I saw her after 40 years. At home, I introduced her to my family. Then I took her to a big mall for shopping. It was just near my house. We went across the street and climbed up using the elevator near the staircase. So see, we have added so many prepositions in order to make this passage meaningful. So most of these prepositions, children, if you look at them, they're just 2-lettered and 3-letter words. But they lend so much meaning to a paragraph. Imagine a situation when these prepositions are not used. The paragraph will become grammatically wrong and meaningless. So children, this was lesson number 4.2 from your English textbook, The Luncheon. We tried to do a few exercises in the warming up part. We learned a few pieces of information about the author, okay, and then we understood what is the main gist of the story, and finally we did some exercises in vocabulary and grammar. So that is all in this lesson for today. So children, now you have watched the video. So after you watch the video now, you will have to complete a few simple tasks. Now you might have watched the video on your computers or your laptops or your mobile phones. Now after you watch the video, what will you do? You will please go to the description box which is given below the video. So what is the description box? See, the description box looks like this. Alright, and after you go to the description box, you will see that there are a few questions there. Now what are these questions about? These questions are about the lesson that we just learned or the video that you just watched. So what will you do? You will think back properly about the lesson and you will try and answer these questions and note down the answers in your notebook if you want. Okay? After that, we have another task waiting. You will also click on the link which you will find in the description box to fill up the Google form. So now what is the Google form, children? It is nothing but a simple form. There are a few simple questions there about the video which you just saw and also about yourself. So these are the tasks now that you will have to complete after you watch each video. So children, wasn't that a very interesting lesson? I'm sure you learnt a lot of new things in this lesson. If you have liked this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my video so that you will get to see all the videos which I keep posting regularly.